A lot of the Evo and Lancer forums just aren't as active as they once were. There's a lot of good info there, but it's starting to get dated. Sure, the fitment specs haven't changed, but the wheels have. There are new wheels on the market, and a lot of them look pretty baller on the Evo X and Lancer. We'll highlight some of these new designs along with classics that have looked dope from day one. Over the years, Evo owners have gotten most of the loves, while the others have gotten the short end of the stick. We want to change that. While I wouldn't say Lancers are my favorite thing, they're still out there. And today we'll cover the Evo 10, but also the equivalent non-Evo Lancers, such as the Ralliart, GTS, SE, and etc. Regardless of what model you own, you're probably aware that the Evo's fitment is pretty distinct from the Lancers. Before we start recommending specs, we'll compare the two platforms. So, what do they have in common? Well, the basic fitment info, the center bore and their lug torque. The bolt pattern, thread pitch, and center bore are all shared across the 9th gen Lancer platform. Generally, designs that look good on the Evo will also look good on the others and vice versa. This is where the similarities end. So throw those out, forget about them. Stock Lancer and Evo fitment specs, the Evo with its factory wide body kit runs about 30 millimeters wider than the others. So this means you can just add or subtract 30 millimeters to convert one to the other, right? In general, you'll want to achieve the correct fitment by changing the width and offset to suit your application. This is how the factory does it. Now, the factory wheel sizes. The DEES GTS will get a 16 by 6.5 with a 205 tire. The RA will get an 18 by 7 plus 46. The Evo will get an 18 by 8.5 that actually were made by BBS and Enkei. But those specs are weak. Yeah, we agree.
Duh.
Regardless of the model you have, the factory specs are far too tucked for our liking. As far as tire goes, if you want to make 1,000 plus horsepower, as a lot of Evo owners do, who cares about turbo lag anyway, right? You'll want to scale up the tires to match your wheels, Evolution and Brembos. The smallest wheels that will fit on factory Brembos on the Evo is an 18. The factory size non-Evo cars have the option to run 17s, although 18s are preferred on just about every trim. Just because you order 18s or larger doesn't mean they'll clear the face of your favorite wheel. The calipers poke out on these cars, and you can see why just looking at the rotors. The friction ring is nearly in line with the mounting flange, or in other words, the rotor has a higher offset compared to most. If your favorite wheel is known to not clear, one solution is running a slip-on hub-centric spacer. So now for rolling fenders on your Lancer Evo, this is a pretty standard procedure across the entire car scene. The metal fender tabs can be folded in to give the most clearance. In the rear, there's a bumper mounting point inside the fender that can be replaced with a zip tie. The bumper needs to be trimmed, the tab folded back, and the hole drilled to give the zip tie somewhat of a space to grab. We'll look at these setups that need this treatment later, as well as some that don't. So for the Ralliart, DEES, GTS, and all the non-cool Lancers, we'll start with the non-Evo models first. Conveniently, the fitment is consistent across all of these. Here's a quick start guide for flush fitment. 18-inch is universally considered the go-to size on this chassis. 17s weren't an option from factory, but can look good with the right wheel and tire combo. As far as width and offset, anything from 8 to 9 inches in width with a 30 to 45 offset will land somewhere around flush fitment without major work. Possibly a light fender roll, and going to a 9.5 or larger wheel is where you'll most certainly need to roll those fenders. If not, play with the camber, Shrek tires, etc. The RA comes with a 215/45, and for a daily driver, 225/40 will give a healthy increase in performance while being straightforward to fit. If your car is making decent power over stock, going wider in 235s, say 245, is when you'll have to consider the rolling fenders or living with a slight rub. This is why we recommend a 225 or 235 for most builds. Let's give you guys some examples of some Lancer and Evo fitments, starting out with this very first one, rocking some 96961s, which you can pick up from threepiece.us. They're a great budget-friendly alternative to TE37s, and they're made with some high-quality parts and components. I think you should actually check out our video that we did on 969 in the description below. So this is a perfect setup for a daily driver. These specs are almost identical to factory Evo wheels, give or take a few millimeters. Factory Evo wheels with factory size 245/40 tires tend to cause rubbing unless the fenders are rolled. The same wheels with a 235/40 would fit no problem. Here's another example, rocking some Enkei Raijin's 18 by 8.5, which, hey, we carry Enkei on our website as well now, so go check those out. You can buy these exact wheels on there as well. Not only that, it's rocking some Firestone Firehawk all seasons, which again, you can buy from our site. Check that out as well. This 2009 Ralliart is sporting some very similar spec wheels to the last, but it's lowered on coils and has much more aggressive tires, a 255/35. This is as wide as we recommend on stock fenders. Expect to roll and even slightly pull to prevent rubbing. Even then, you might still have some. If you have a Ralliart making decent power, this is the size of tire you'll want to run. 245/35 will be a bit easier, but isn't as widely supported in the tire industry. We're just gonna keep the recommendations coming as you want to have examples. That's the whole point, it's a fitment guide. So this next one is rocking some BC coilovers on some BF Goodriches and running some Rotas. Opting for more aggressive fitment specs will absolutely require the fender to be rolled and pulled. This 2010 Ralliart is running an 18/9 with lower offset than the previous. The rear looks to be perfectly flushed while the front has a slight amount of poke. Another degree or two of camber would bring the front flush just how we like it. This car is on BC coils, as I mentioned before, running a 245/40 tire. This combo makes for an awesome weekend warrior track car as well. Now, if you said the previous wheels were too broke boy for you, we're starting to get up there. These are some Grand Lights 57DRs, 18/10.5 plus 12, running some Kumho tires and air suspension. So no track day boys, high horsepower day boy for this guy. We had to include at least one stance enthusiast. This 2008 Lancer GTS is lowered on AirTech air suspension, and these wheels are similar to what you'll find on an Evo with aggressive fitment. So how did he make it work for a Lancer? Lots of camber and very stretched tires. Obviously the fenders needed to be rolled, pulled, trimmed to the max in order to make these 57DRs fit. Now this look isn't for everyone. The thin tires and alignment will make the car less than ideal for sport driving. We don't know the exact camber figures, maybe the owner doesn't either, but calibrated eyeball lands to about -5 in the front and about -8 in the rear. He's also rocking air suspension, so there's a lot of work done there.
Stop crying, it won't do any good. And anyway, you have a lot of work to do starting right now.
So for the Evo 10, this is what you all were waiting for, and hopefully didn't skip and actually watch some of that. Because of the brakes, downsizing to a 17-inch wheel is out of the question. So like Ralliart, staying at the stock size of 18s is probably your best play. If you're feeling frisky, 19s are possible. We'll look at one of those setups. Again, these cars are sunken fitment regardless of the model, so we'll fix that with popular widths and offset. The best width of wheels to an Evo 10 ranges about 9.5 to 10.5. Yes, the factory fenders can handle some wide ass wheels. Offset ranges from 15 to 40s, 18 and 19 diameter wheels, and 9.5 to 10.5 in width. You get pretty decent sized 245/40 tires on your Evo, and most likely can go wider to a 255 or 265 as long as it'll fit, and those will fit without too much hassle, as long as you opt for the 35 profile tires. 57DRs weren't baller enough for you? Well, what about these Raise CE28 SLs, 18/9.5 plus 22, effectively +9. I mean, we know what you're doing, Raise. Keeping your eye on you. Also rocking some Nitto NT05 275/35 18s, and a 3mm spacer is needed for adequate brake clearance. It's rocking an Eibach Pro Kit lowering springs, and if you're like most Evo owners, you'll want wider tires for performance reasons. This 2012 MR is running some pretty wide 275/35s, and the 9.5-inch wide wheels stick out an additional ½ inch over stock, but still won't quite give you the flush fitment. Still a noticeable improvement compared to stock, and with this car lowered on springs, it needed the rear fenders rolled. A thinner tire or stock ride height would most likely clear with no extra work, but again, not super aggressive, but this setup would again make a excellent multi-use weekend warrior vehicle, and I'm saying again a lot. I need to stop that. Stop! We're just gonna keep elevating the wheel setups. We're going all the way up to Work Meister S1s. He's rocking some Falcon Azenas, which again, you can buy both of those on our website. So what about the 19-inch wheels on an Evo X? Although far less popular than the 18s, 19-inch wheels will obviously fit, as you can see. This car is running a very thin 225/35 tire. We believe there's room to fit at least a 245, if not more. This is the only multi-piece dished wheel on our list. These tend to have less clearance than monoblock wheels. Most name brand wheels come with multiple disc types, giving the option for more brake clearance or less, but that's at the cost of less lip. In this case, the Meisters, an R disc is needed in the front. The car pictured has an R disc in the front and O disc in the rear. The different disc sizes give this car a pseudo staggered setup. It looks staggered, but the specs are identical front and rear. So we're not gonna stop with the previous Work wheels. These are also some ZR10 two-piece 18/10.5. If you wanna push the boundaries, go for a 10.5-inch wheel. This is as wide as we recommend on a stock metal fender car. The owner of this car chose an aggressive +12 offset. If you wanna run a 10.5 wide wheel, you could also pick a higher offset, maybe a +15 to 30. Either way, expect to roll the fenders on all 4 corners and possibly slightly pull them. we promise to share some newer designs, so how about these ZR10s? These are a relatively new installment from Work's famous Emotion lineup. Don't work on your emotions, just buy some. This 2014 Evo X GSR is stanced on some silvers coilovers. As we can see, they can go pretty low. Of course, if you don't want to scrape everywhere, you could raise the front and enjoy functional fitment. That's the great thing about coilovers, and you can actually buy them on our website, threepiece.us. So again, the description anywhere. If you want to copy this guy's wheel fitment too, go on our vehicle gallery. All right, now for possibly the greatest wheels ever made in the history of ever, the Heritage EBISU's 18x11s, rocking some Nitto Neo Gen 235s all around. Of course, he's on air suspension and rolled, pulled, and done every single bit of suspension work to get this kind of look. And if you really want to break the rules, you can fit these 11s on your Evo, but it's not going to be easy. Be warned, this fitment, along with the last, is for advanced users that know the ins and outs of stancing a car. This car is on bags, and there's no doubt the fenders needed to be rolled and pulled to the max. This is another example of a fairly recent wheel. It's also available in a monoblock version, and it is the greatest wheel ever made, the EBISU Mono C. In fact, you can get them nearly identical specs to what you see here. Or maybe you don't want a hella flush fitment, they're also available in less aggressive sizes. I recommend you checking out Heritage on our site, threepiece.us. You can get 3-piece wheels, you can get monoblock wheels, whatever we have to offer. Regardless of what model you have, now you know what fits. Whether you like the choice of wheels in this list or not, you can take the fitment you like and copy it using your favorite wheel. We have hundreds of thousands of wheel options in our shop in every design you can think of in every single spec. Head over to new wheels section and pick out your dream wheels. Or if you don't really know what you're looking for, email us at sales@threepiece.us or give our fitment experts a call and they'll walk you through finding your best fitment for your car. Again, if you really like this video, give it a like, comment, subscribe if you're not already, and make sure to add your car to our vehicle gallery for chances to be a part of our fitment battles every month. This month's grand prize is a set of Odhan DSXs. They look incredible. They come in 3 different finishes and fit various amounts of cars. So make sure you add your car to our vehicle gallery and like, comment, subscribe, do all the special YouTube things, and I'll see you in the next one.